Hi, students. Welcome to your lessons for the grammar reference of Ready for FCE. Today we are going to talk about Unit 1. You gotta make sure that you've read your reference before watching this video, because that way you will follow the lesson much more easily. So we're gonna start then. Okay. Right. So this is about habitual behavior in the present. Okay. The present simple is used for habitual actions when we describe routines, when we describe habits. Doesn't really matter the frequency, but we're talking about habits and we're talking about things that are always true. That's what happens, with present. For example, say I go for a run twice a week, so that's a habit. To express frequency of habits, you use adverbs of frequency, and you know all of them, like always, often, sometimes, never, and so on. But as it says in point 1, they are usually placed before the main verb, right? So position is important. Everybody will understand you even though you don't place them correctly, but we want to speak good English. So remember, like before the main verb, for example, I always have omelette for breakfast, or I never watch television at night, okay? Before the main verb. Then after the verb to be, or an auxiliary verb, this is the exception. Okay, you say, I always have breakfast. Fine, but if the verb is to be, it changes, it goes after, not before. So you can say, I am always sleepy. Okay, or for example, if you have an auxiliary verb, you place it after the auxiliary verb to. For example, I have always liked rock and roll. So remember, before the main verb, but if it's the verb to be, goes after, and if you are having you're using an auxiliary verb like have always been, and so on. Okay, right. So point 3 says, usually, normally, frequently, sometimes, often, and occasionally can also be placed at the beginning of the sentence, right? So, for example, you can say, well, normally I do exercise every morning, okay? So that's fine, it's correct too in the cases of those adverbs, fine. And then always, rarely, seldom, and hardly, ever, and never cannot be used in this way. You cannot put those ones at the beginning of the sentence. So this is frequency adverbs. Then we go to C, which are some variations, right? For example, the present continuous plus always. And you say, well, always is an adverb of frequency, so it should always be used with present simple, but there is an exception. When you use always with present continuous, yeah, it's a habit, but you want to express a habit normally of someone else that really, really annoys you, that you cannot stand, Como, es que siempre está cantando en la ducha, So we'll say something like, he's always singing in the shower. It's like really annoying that he sings like really badly, okay? So that's the exception. Then adjectives can be used as an alternative to rarely, and things like that. For example, you can say, it's rare for me to do something, or it's normal for me to do something, which means that there are two different ways to say the same thing. I could say, well, I rarely listen to indie rock, but I could also say, it is rare for me to listen to indie rock, and it's just exactly the same. Okay, right. So then we go for point 3, which is tend to plus infinitive, tender a hacer algo. So it's just like another way to say it. You say, well, young people nowadays tend to use like digital devices all the time, right? Then you can use will plus infinitive to talk about habitual behavior. For example, still sometimes spend the whole day reading. It might sound a bit strange to you because it goes with will, but if you hear it in context, you will understand that, you know, they are talking about a habit. Yeah. If, you know, for example, I want to say about somebody something like, siempre por las tardes juega al fútbol, you know. So you can say, well, you know, he will always play football in the afternoon. Okay, right. Then point 5, okay. Keep on doing. Okay, keep on doing means like hacer algo todo el rato, ¿vale? Seguir haciendo todo el rato algo. So, for example, Peter keeps on hitting me. Keeps on hitting me, o sea, sigue pegándome, como, que, o sea, horrible, ¿no? So, that is like, you know, a habitual behavior in the present. Now, we're going to have a look at habitual behavior in the past, right? So, the past simple is used for regular actions or habitual behavior in the past. And here I just want to make a note in Spanish because you will understand quicker probably. In Spanish we have different tenses to express past. For example, like empecé, empezaba, empezara, empezase. Okay, so to express all those tenses, you can use in English just past simple, and it's like really easy. Okay, so for example, if you want to talk about a past habit or a past situation, something that repeated all the time, you could use like, okay, when I was a child, I played basket. Okay, jugaba al baloncesto cuando era cría. Okay, and that's fine. Okay, it's okay. Then you can also use I used to. Okay, I used to do something, solía hacer algo in the past. Fine. So you can say, when I was a child, I used to watch cartoons. It's something you used to do, but you don't do anymore. Fine. This is to describe habits of actions, but also I used to can describe states or situations. For example, you used to like sweets when you were a child. Fine. Like is not an action, it's a feeling, it's an emotion, but you can also use used to. So for example, I used to like sweets. Or, for example, I used to live in another city, right? That's not an action, it's a state. Or also, you can use it for to express possession. Yeah, I used to have a canary bird. Fine. So, used to is for habits and situations in the past, and you can use it for actions, for situations, for feelings, and also for possession. Then, if you want to use it in the negative, you just have to say, I didn't used to do something, but be careful, you don't have to put the D in the used because the past is in didn't, so that's it. For example, now I like doing sport. So when I was a child, I didn't used to like sport, right? And if you want to make a question to somebody, like, for example, you meet somebody in the street and you're not sure and you're thinking, pero este tío no llevaba barba. And you say, okay, do you used to have a beard before? So, you know, that's another thing. Also, to express a habit in the past, you can also use would. I know you're thinking, okay, would is for hypothetical, yes, but you can also use it in this situation. So, a habit in the past. For example, imagine you went all the summers to Torrevieja. So you could say something like, well, when I was a child, I went to Torrevieja all the summers. When I was a child, I used to go to Torrevieja all the summers. And also, you could say, when I was a child, I would go to Torrevieja all the summers. So they express exactly the same. What is the catch here? The catch is that you cannot use would for past actions that are not actions. It's only for actions. You could say, when I was a child, I would skate in the park, I will watch cartoons, I will eat Nutella, right? Those are actions. But you cannot say, when I was a child, I would like sweets, or I would have a canary bird. If you think about it, it's pretty logical. Okay, so those are the different uses for these different ways to express habitual actions or states in the past. Finally, we have be used to, get used to, plus noun in general. And please pay attention because people get really confused with these structures, okay? I have explained to you in this unit, I used to do something, which means yo solía hacer algo en el pasado, okay? And now we are going to talk about something which is different, which is be used to, which means estar acostumbrado a, and get used to, which means acostumbrarse a el proceso. The really important thing here is that to is not to for the infinitive, is to preposition. So if you want to make this structure right, make sure that you place ing after to, which means that estar acostumbrado a algo is be used to something or be used to doing something. Ing is now I am used to do. That's wrong. So I'm just gonna make like some examples for you, so probably it would be easier to distinguish. If I want to say something like estoy acostumbrada a dormir muy poco, okay? So it's be used, so it's be, say I am. So it's I am used to sleeping very little, okay? So remember ing, sleeping. I am used to sleeping very little. Okay? If we want to talk about the process, no estás acostumbrado, te estás acostumbrando. That's get used to doing, right? So, if, I don't know, por ejemplo, puedo decir, bueno, tengo que acostumbrarme a hacer deporte por la mañana. Maybe, you know. So it's like get used, tengo que sería I have to get used to doing sport in the morning because it's better. We could also like use these structures in the past. For example, when I lived in England, I used to live in England when I was young. So there were like many different things in there. For example, coffee was total rubbish. So I got used to drinking tea. Me acostumbré a beber té. Okay? It was hard at the beginning because I was used to drinking coffee. Yo estaba acostumbrada a beber café. So that is the difference between those two structures, because estar acostumbrado a, acostumbrarse a, go with ing, right? And don't get confused when you say yo solía hacer in the past, because that's I used to do something. So it's very different. Also, a very common mistake that a lot of people do is when you want to say like, Yo suelo hacer algo in the present, and then you go and say, I used to do something. No. No, that's not okay. You have to say, I usually do something. An adverb of frequency with present simple. Suelo tomar ensalada siempre. Pues, I usually have salad. Okay? It's only in the past. If you want to say yo solía, that is, I used to do something. And well, that's all for today. If you have any questions, just leave the comments below and I will answer you as soon as possible, and have a very nice day. See ya.